to talk baseball issues with the great Hall of Fame writer, currently working for The Athletic and doing many other things he has brought to us by DraftKings. His name is Jayson Stark. Hello, Jayson.
How's it going, man?
Jayson, would you like to take a shot at the Fanatic football pool? No. Yeah, Jayson,
I believe I'm eligible for that.
I'm kind of tied in a knot here, so let me try to straighten this out with you. All right, so there's a team that wins 9 of 10, and you go, oh, look at this. They look like they're solid. And then all of a sudden time goes on. Guys start getting nicked up. They start losing. And then you go, wait a minute. And then they go to Miami. And go, we can put the Marlins away. And they lose 5 of 7. Then they win last night, and I hear their magic number's 11. I'm totally confused. What are they, Jayson?
You're seeing it, Mike. You're seeing it. We've talked about them week after week this year, and there's just this drop off from the stars on this team to the rest of the roster that has been showing up because you've had star players getting hurt. You've had Bryce going through this horrendous funk. Somebody I talked to this week compared him to the Eagles' offensive line. If everybody's healthy, it was pretty damn good, right? But in this condition, in this state, not so much.
Yeah. All right. So, listen, they're still in a good playoff spot here, and last night was a kind of a good win for them. But now you look at the Arrieta going down. Now Wheeler's pitching tonight, but unfortunately pitches against DeGrom, and he's got this finger thing. So really, we're looking at how many reliable starters that. We were all worried about the bullpen. Do they have enough starters to get through this?
No, they don't. I think it's pretty simple. In The Athletic today, my colleague Eno Saris did an analysis of rotation depth because that's what's going to show up now into this new postseason format. We should talk about that. But there are only 2 rotations in the National League that he rated as being thinner than the Phillies, and one of them is the Pirates. Right? They're the worst team in baseball. So start thinking about this. Noah, great. Wheeler's been great, but we don't know what he'll be now. What happens if Jake Arrieta never throws another pitch? I'm assuming Spencer Howard never throws another pitch. Who's your Game 4 starter if you make it? Vince Velasquez, I guess. How many games have they won that Vince has started this year? That would be none, Mike. Then who starts Game 5? Ramon Rosso? Cole Irvin? This is your worst nightmare. And then you have this whole postseason format that was announced yesterday with no off days until the World Series. If you advance through the wild card round, which is played 3 in a row, then you could potentially play 12 times in 13 days. You can't do what the Nationals did last year where Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin pitched almost 60% of the innings starting and relieving. There's no chance to Nola and Wheeler your way through these rounds. In 2008, they used Cole Hamels. They won 11 games. He started 5 of them. It's just not possible under this format. And so, even if they advance, even if they get there, it's just hard to see how this format works in their favor in any way.
Yeah, my brain is not at what they can do in the playoffs as much as it is will they even survive to get in the playoffs.
Right.
So from that small measure, do you see them being able to survive to get in the playoffs?
I think they should get in. All right, look, 4 teams are in the National League, right? Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, Padres. Now you've got 7 more teams that are between 2 games over 500 and 3 under. The Phillies are 1 over. 4 of those 7 get in. Here's another thing. If there's a tie for those last spots this year, you're not going to play them off on the Monday after the season. There's a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is record within your division. The Phillies are 20-14. They're going to win every tie, unless they go 1-4 in these last 5 games against the Mets and Nationals. So they're in good shape to at least get in. I can say that.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's all we can hope for. But see, that's still not good enough, which leads me to a couple more questions here. And the questions, and everybody obviously has been hammering the general manager for not being able to put a better team together, a better pitching staff, shirking the bullpen. You know all the complaints there have been about Matt Klentak. I'm wondering if you're hearing that his job is now in jeopardy.
You know, I think if you had Matt away from a microphone and asked him if he was concerned about his job, he would say yes. I think the guys around that team they're concerned, especially if they don't make it, about their jobs, all of their jobs. If they're the 8th seed and they get knocked out by the Dodgers in 2 games, you're going to fire somebody if your team gets into a 16-team field? I think that's the question. I don't think it's fair to make any decisions based on this year, but you do have a much larger sample to judge Matt Klentak's work. I don't think the owner's happy with what he's been watching, but I don't think he would make the decision based on what happens here in the next week and a half.
All right, so the baseball people, has he been a good enough GM? According to, your eyes, the baseball people's eyes that you talk to?
Well, he's made a lot of good decisions. They're good players here, but they've never assembled enough roster depth to get in or contend or really do anything if they ever did get in. They've had a lot of high draft picks. They had the number 1 pick in the draft, Mickey Moniak. I know he's been a topic today because he may or may not make his debut. They missed on that pick, and he's not going to be a star player. Remember now, the Rookie of the Year last year came out that year, Pete Alonso. The Rookie of the Year in the American League this year, Kyle Lewis, was a guy they almost took. He's probably going to win in Seattle. So there's those 2 guys. Ian Anderson got called up by the Braves last month. He was the 3 pick in that draft. He's been the Braves' best pitcher since he got there. The number 2 pick in that draft, Nick Senzel, has been in the big leagues for 2 years with the Reds. It feels like they just didn't come out of their rebuild with any stars. Now, Alec Bohm has a chance to be, but that's something that I think the general manager would get judged on too.
All right, let's now flip it to the manager because, listen, I know he's got a great resume. I don't think it's been an exceptionally great year for Joe Girardi. Now, I know that he hasn't had a bullpen, and I know there's been a lot of guys hurt. But, some of the things that, the positivity that he exudes after games, it's the same thing Kapler did that he got destroyed for. And some of the moves, even with Segura, Kapler used to get killed for not disciplining Segura. Segura's done a lot of things wrong this year. He's still in the lineup. Evaluate Joe Girardi's job.
I honestly think Joe's track record speaks for itself. And I don't think there's any comparison between him and Gabe Kapler on any level. Even Joe's positivity in answering questions, it's much more honest and realistic for the most part. I don't like it. Gabe would answer questions, and he'd kind of say, "What?" I don't come away from any Joe Girardi answer to any question saying that makes no sense. You can disagree with what he does, but the biggest issue on this team is roster construction and inability to develop young players who you could call up from that alternate site who have made any impact, except for Jojo Romero. To me, that's been the biggest issue. And the other thing that I don't think is in his control is, why would Mickey Moniak be an option to get called up right now? Because they literally have no other outfitters. I understand that they've gone through this incredibly weird stretch of injuries and roster challenges, but some of it goes back to just not being willing to go over the threshold. and have veteran players you can bring in who are in that site, who are on your roster, who are in your pool. It's really coming back to haunt them right now on a lot of levels.
All right, last question is about Bryce Harper. I've been 100% for a long time. They keep protecting him, DHing him, getting him out of the outfield. What's up? What are people saying here about him?
Yeah, there is a lot of speculation that he's not 100%. It's like he can't be 100%. He's got one multi-hit game in the last 4 weeks. That game in Miami over the weekend, right? He had that double play ball. He didn't run hard. He had that fly ball to short right that he didn't get to, that Neil Walker had to catch, and it cost him a run. Like, those things were weird. And then, like a week and a half ago, he had this stretch. DH, played a game in the outfield, DH the next game, played another game in the outfield, then had a day off, then played the next day, came out after 5 innings. Like, those things raise a lot of eyebrows. You add that to the performance. I cannot imagine that Bryce is 100%. Guys on other teams who've been watching their team are convinced he's not 100%. He would never say anything. Never. He knows he's got to grit through it in this town. But I'm with you. I'm convinced he's not healthy.
All right. Jayson, good stuff. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week.
Mike, talk to you, man.
Right,
we'll see where this leads.
You got it, buddy. It's Jayson Stark.
Mike Missanelli, afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.